I'm Rob Van Raphorst, and welcome to MBANow. This is our first CREF Corner Office Conversations, a series of interviews where we'll be hearing from a diverse group of leaders involved in commercial real estate finance to learn more about their businesses, roles, and engagement with the mortgage finance industry. A lot is happening right now in the CRE finance market. Here to discuss mergers and acquisitions activity with us is Shekar Narasimhan, Managing Partner at Beacom Advisors. Beacom provides strategic advisory services to companies and investors involved in mortgage finance, affordable housing, and related sectors. Shekar currently serves on MBA's Commercial Board of Governors and has served several terms on MBA's Board of Directors. Shekar, thanks for stopping by.
Thank you, Rob.
You've been an advisor since 2003 with Beacom Advisors. After working as chairman and CEO of a publicly traded company, you've had a lot of different roles within CRE finance. What's your sort of outlook on the mortgage industry?
So it's actually been 15 years at Beacom Advisors, which is much longer than anyone would have contemplated. We basically focus on mid-market companies that tend to be entrepreneurial, that are providing specialty finance, mortgage banking, commercial real estate, multifamily, GSE. And our clients tend to be those that have built companies with their own hands and their sweat. So their tendency about what they think of the future generally tends to be pretty optimistic. So we've been on a heck of a bull run here. So 2008, construction stops. 2009, no one's lending. 2010, you see the glimmers of a resurgence in the market. Multifamily went down as an asset class first because with single family residential, came back first for a couple of really good reasons. One was the availability of finance from Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, stabilized that market quicker than others. But the other was just the fact that there were 8 million foreclosures and people left single-family homes. They had to go live in rental housing. Some of that happened in single-family rental, but a lot of it happened in apartments. So you saw a resurgence of that sector. You saw a resurgence of GSE lending. And then commercial real estate comes back. There have been hiccups along the way. There's a tendency to believe that everything that's up stays up. It never does. We may have plateaued in some places. And so the view at Beacom is, look, let's really understand the market and let's go about a step or two ahead of it if you're an entrepreneur. Because the advantage you have is you can shift your boat more quickly.
So sort of what's your outlook for transaction volumes headed into the near future then?
So interestingly, 2017 saw the first dip, if you will, in investment sales. After an enormous bull run from 2012 onwards, we are at record heights in everything. The MBA data says that we did well over $500 billion in commercial real estate finance, $270 billion plus just in multifamily. And of course, the GSE is very dominant in that sphere. Over 50% of the market is, in fact, GSE-led. Insurance companies are doing record volumes, banks are doing record volumes, even CMBS has kind of held its own. So there's nothing wrong with the debt markets. And on the equity side, you should know pre-Quinn reports that we have the largest amount of dry powder sitting in the bank, if you will, $249 billion for commercial real estate. 70% of that is for the US alone. So there's nothing wrong with the state of the capital markets. What fundamentally has happened is valuations have changed enough that at low cap rates, at low interest rates, we're getting lulled. I call this, it's being high. What happens when you change from being high to something else is it tends to be a very dramatic feeling.
Let's shift now to your involvement with MBA. Certainly you have had a variety of roles. Can you talk a little bit about one of those leadership roles or engagement opportunities that really has been important to you?
Mm-hmm. So about 20 plus years ago, there was a very large board at the MBA, which consisted of, if I recall correctly, and people might correct me, there were 30 or 40 people on the board. There were about half a dozen of us from the commercial and multifamily side. And we used to always sit at the same table because we knew each other rather well, and we joke about the fact that 95% of the agenda was not highly relevant to us. The place where it merged was when we started talking about GSEs. And people would say, well, what's going to happen to the GSEs? Even 20 years ago, believe it or not, that was a topic of conversation. And we would then wake up and go, oh, wait, we care about that. So, but the focus of the organization at that time, because of just the governance system, was heavily on the single-family residential home ownership aspect. So what happened very quickly was we said, let's change that. And instead of creating yet another association, bluntly, which tends to be what happens when your interests you think are divergent, we said, how can we create within the MBA something that serves the needs of all people in the real estate finance industry? So I'm very proud to say that 20 years ago, literally in 1998, so it's 20 years ago, we formed ComBog and ResBog and made the MBA board of directors very lean so that it was representative of all the groups, and every third year there was a commercial or multifamily member who became chairman on the ladder. And I was the first chairman of ComBog in 1998. And I remember that very first meeting being asked first to be chairman and saying, would you lead this? And saying, well, are there any bylaws? No. Do we know who's coming? Well, we've invited 30 people, we don't know who's coming. 28 showed up. The excitement was palpable. We were giving governance an opportunity to have input and a place, if you will, within the MBA for a very large segment of the commercial real estate, multifamily finance industry. So the excitement of that, the fact that we knew each other really well and wanted to build it within the organization. I mean, there's nothing more satisfying than being at the birth of something, and particularly in this case, the rebirth of something very important. And I think the MBA has proved over 20 plus years that it's vibrant and it's growing because it's brought that diversity to the table.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. We really appreciate you stopping by, talking a little bit about your history, outlook on the market, and involvement with MBA. And please come back.
Thank you, Rob. Appreciate it very much.